Two people walk into the same bank, 30 minutes apart. One gets a stranger reading from a script telling them nothing can be done. The other gets a handshake in a room with no sign on the door. Same bank, same rules. The only thing that changed is a number sitting next to their name. And today, we're climbing that ladder, level by level. Level 1, negative balance. It starts small. A subscription renews 2 days before payday. Your balance drops to -$6. The bank system doesn't see a small mistake. It sees a rule that was broken, and it responds instantly with a $34 overdraft fee, 6 times larger than the thing that triggered it. The fee doesn't ask what happened. It doesn't know about the delayed paycheck or the subscription you forgot to cancel. It only knows the number crossed a line. You call, you wait. Hold music loops for the third time before a person finally answers, reads from a script, and tells you the fee is final. Somewhere in that call, a second charge clears because the system doesn't pause to let you catch up. It just keeps applying the same rule over and over to a balance that's already underwater. By the end of the week, you owe more to the bank than you spent on the coffee that started it. Your rent payment, scheduled for the same account, bounces. That triggers a landlord fee. Your phone bill bounces next. What started as $4 is now closer to $200, spreading into places you never authorized it to go. You skip lunch that week, not dramatically, just quietly. You tell a coworker you already ate. You didn't. Hunger at this altitude isn't loud. It's something you learn to perform your way around. Here's the quiet cruelty of the floor. The penalty for having too little money is that it costs you money you don't have. And the person on the other end of the phone isn't unkind. She's just following a process that was never built to notice you specifically. You're not being punished. You're being processed. Level 2, a few $100s. You've clawed your way back to positive, not comfortable. Just above the line, after extra shifts you didn't plan on working. A maintenance fee still comes out automatically because your balance sits under the minimum the bank requires to waive it. $12, sometimes $15, taken quietly, without a notification, without an explanation. You're not being charged for a mistake anymore. You're being charged for existing at this altitude. You try to apply for a real credit card and get offered a secured one instead, which means you hand the bank your own cash as collateral so they can lend a version of it back to you at a steep interest rate. You read the terms twice, trying to find the part where this benefits you. It doesn't. You decline. Which matters more than it should, because when your car needs an unexpected repair a few weeks later, there's no card to put it on. You take the bus to work, 3 hours late. Your manager doesn't say anything. He just looks at you a beat longer than usual. Walk into a branch at this level and notice the temperature change. The teller isn't rude. She's just efficient. Fast, polite, unmemorable. She helps the person ahead of you with warmth, asking about their weekend. When it's your turn, the tone shifts, professional and clipped. You're processed in under a minute and sent on your way. This is the altitude where most people quietly assume the bank simply doesn't like people without money. That's not quite it. The truth is colder. The bank doesn't see you at all. Attention costs money, and you haven't generated enough of it yet to earn any. Level 3, low 4 figures, steady deposits. Something shifts, not so much the balance as the pattern behind it. 6 months of predictable, on-time direct deposits turns out to matter more to the system than any single dollar amount ever did. The maintenance fee disappears without you asking. You check your statement twice because you don't quite trust it. Nothing about you changed. Your behavior simply started matching a profile the bank knows how to make money from, and the fee that drained you for years just quietly stops. Pre-approved offers start arriving. Unsecured this time, your name printed in metallic foil like you're being welcomed back from somewhere you never left. You apply, and you're approved in under 2 minutes by the very institution that wouldn't touch you 8 months earlier. You didn't change. The pattern did. At the branch now, the teller says good morning before you've reached the counter. Not warmth exactly, more like recognition. Somewhere in between the silence of level 2 and the smile reserved for the customers with real money. A middle ground where most people quietly live for years without noticing it's a middle ground at all. You've crossed from invisible to legible. The bank still doesn't know you, but it started to believe your paperwork is worth the trouble. Level 4. Low 5 figures log in one morning, and your credit limit has quietly doubled. You didn't request it. Somewhere, a model decided you could handle more rope and extended it without asking your permission. Then the phone rings. An actual human this time, not a recording. A relationship banker introduces himself, says his name twice, and gives you a direct line. He asks about your goals, your timeline, your savings, and wants to schedule 15 minutes to go over your account. The same institution that put you on hold for 40 minutes at level 2 is now calling you first thing on a Tuesday. You apply for a small loan to cover car repairs. Approved in 48 hours, at a rate that's not great but isn't punishing either. The process, for the first time, works roughly the way the commercials always promised it would. A fee shows up on your statement. You email your new contact. 3 hours later, it's reversed. No form, no hold music, no script, just a short reply that says it's handled. Nothing about the underlying rules changed. What changed is that you're now worth the exception. The bank was never cruel to you at the bottom. It was indifferent, and indifference, once you're standing on the other side of it, starts to look a lot like warmth. Level 5, low 6 figures. A word starts appearing on your statements. Preferred. You didn't apply for the title. The number earned it for you, quietly, without a ceremony. Your banker becomes a specific person with a name and a memory. The kind who remembers your sister lives in Chicago because you mentioned it once, in passing, 9 months ago. That detail isn't sentiment, it's trained behavior. Institutions teach relationship managers to remember small things because small things are what keep large accounts from leaving. Walk into a branch now and someone with an office and a nameplate stands up to greet you, guiding you past a roped-off line you used to stand in without knowing it existed. Because you were always inside it, looking out, never once told there was a faster way through. A pre-approval letter arrives for a mortgage you haven't asked for yet. The bank has already decided what you can afford before you've decided what you want to buy. A competitor bank calls to offer better rates. You mention it in passing to your banker, and he calls back within the hour with a counteroffer nobody had to ask for. You're not being sold products anymore. You're being courted, and the courting only intensifies the higher you climb. Level 6, 7 figures. At this altitude, the bank stops being a place you visit. It becomes a service that visits you. A specialist arrives at your office with a leather folder of printed reports. The meeting runs 90 minutes, covering your goals, your tax exposure, your estate plans. And it ends without anyone trying to sell you anything, because the selling already happened simply by them showing up in person on your schedule instead of theirs. Call about a frozen wire transfer and someone answers on the second ring. It's resolved in the same conversation that would have taken 3 phone transfers and an entire afternoon 2 levels ago. No script, no hold music. Just a problem and someone with the authority to fix it immediately. You're invited to a private dinner. 8 guests, a view of the city few people ever see from that angle, and not one mention of money the entire evening. Money isn't the topic anymore. It's the table everyone happens to be sitting at. You've stopped being a customer. You've become an asset worth protecting, and the bank starts behaving accordingly, quietly, consistently, without you ever having to ask for the upgrade in treatment. Level 7, 8 figures. Wealth management and private banking sound like the same phrase. They aren't. One is a service. The other is a negotiation. Your banker now manages a small handful of accounts and knows details about your life that were never written down on any form because they were shared over coffee instead. Interest rates stop being published numbers and start being conversations held in private. Paperwork that takes 2 weeks for anyone else clears in 2 days because someone, somewhere, flagged whose name is on the file before it ever reached a desk. Walk into a branch you've never set foot in before, and they already know who you are before you've signed a single form. A different banker stands up to introduce himself. The system flagged your arrival before you walked through the door, not because of fame, because of position. There's a conference room with no branding on the door. The table is a single slab of wood. The deals discussed in that room never appear on a public prospectus, because the room only exists for people at this altitude, and it only opens when the relationship justifies opening it. The rules of the institution don't apply to you here. They bend around you quietly, the way water bends around a stone it's decided is worth going around. Level 8, 9 figures. At the top of the ladder, the word banker disappears entirely. What replaces it is a relationship, and that single word change is the entire story of this video, compressed into one sentence. Your account is now a line item in someone's performance review. Losing you wouldn't just cost the bank money, it would cost someone their career. The institution doesn't compete for your business anymore. It quietly reorganizes itself around the fear of losing it, without you ever seeing the reorganization happen. Deals aren't offered to you from a menu. They're written for you specifically before you've asked for anything. Investments arrive on your desk before the public ever hears about them. The terms of a loan are negotiated in a single phone call shaped entirely around your timeline instead of a standard schedule built for someone else. And then the final shift happens, the one that separates this altitude from every other. The chief investment officer starts asking your opinion, not the other way around. The head of private banking flies out to ask what your tier of client should expect next, from an institution you're now quietly helping to shape. You are no longer a customer of the system. You are shaping it, the same system that, at level 1, charged someone else $34 this morning for being $4 short.